everyone. I'm Tiffany Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Nvidia founder and CEO Jensen Huang is in Taiwan to visit TSMC and work on the company's next generation Rubin processor.
We have a next generation architecture called Rubin. And Rubin is very advanced. And we have now taped out 6 brand new chips to TSMC. So all of these chips are now in TSMC's fab. And I came to thank all of their operations people for working so hard for me. I think TSMC is one of the greatest companies in the history of humanity. Anybody who wants to buy TSMC stock is a very smart person.
Huang also said Nvidia is in talks with Washington over a new chip for the China market. It comes after reports that Nvidia is working on the B30A, a chip that would be more powerful than the current H20 model, and that work on the H20 has been suspended. When asked about the new chip, Huang said Nvidia is talking with the U.S. government about export licensing, but it's not the company's decision to make. Huang said he would only stay for a few hours and is leaving Taiwan after having dinner with TSMC leaders. The White House says it has no plans to become a shareholder in bigger firms like TSMC that are boosting investments in the U.S. The statement follows a Wall Street Journal report that the Taiwanese chip giant had discussed returning some of its U.S. CHIPS and Science Act funding if Washington pushed to take an ownership stake. On Tuesday, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the government would take a 10% stake in U.S. chipmaker Intel and pursue similar deals with other grant recipients. In less than 24 hours, voters will head to the polls for a second wave of recall votes, but also critically decide the future of nuclear energy in Taiwan. Leslie Liao has been following the developments and joins us live from our Taipei newsroom. Leslie, what's at stake here?
Tiffany, the nationwide focus is on a nuclear power referendum. The question at hand would ask citizens whether they want to restart the Ma'anshan nuclear power plant in southern Taiwan after it passes safety inspections. That plant was taken offline in May in line with the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's nuclear-free policy. But the opposition camp, made up of the Kuomintang and the Taiwan People's Party, say they want to bring nuclear back into Taiwan's energy mix. They say that without it, Taiwan's energy supplies are unreliable and that energy sources would only grow scarcer and more expensive.
改正民进党错误的能源政策，是我们责无旁贷的责任。
Another argument the pro-nuclear camp makes is that Taiwan's tech-heavy industries will need an immense amount of energy to grow. And as you said earlier, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang arrived in Taiwan on Friday morning, and that's a sentiment that he reinforced. And then there's also the question of nuclear power as a sustainable energy source. Proponents say that nuclear power is cleaner than the fossil fuel energy that Taiwan currently relies on.
Okay, Leslie, what does the anti-nuclear camp have to say about nuclear power then?
Their main argument is that it's unsafe. The Ma'anshan nuclear power plant sits on an active fault, and they say that an earthquake could cause a meltdown. And then there's the question about where to store nuclear waste.
什么危险呢？它一直以来都处在地震带上，所以它本身就是一座高风险的核电厂。为什么要让它再延役，让它再重启？另外，我们也找不到高阶核废料的最终处置场。
Nuclear opponents often point to the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan as an example of what could go wrong. They say an incident like that in Taiwan would have devastating consequences. Now, election officials here in Taiwan have said that for the referendum to pass, just over 5 million people need to vote in favor of it, and the in favor votes must outnumber those that oppose. Tiffany, back to you.
Thanks, Leslie. That was Leslie Liao from our Taipei newsroom. Also on Saturday, a second round of opposition lawmakers will face a recall vote as the battle for legislative power continues despite the massive recall failure last month. I traveled to central Taiwan to see how lawmakers and voters are feeling. Waving to constituents in the mountainous areas of central Taiwan, Kuomintang lawmaker and Deputy Legislative Speaker Johnny Jiang sweeps the streets of his district in Taichung, much like he did just over a year ago while he was seeking election. But this time, he's seeking to defend his position. Jiang is one of dozens of KMT lawmakers who have faced campaigns to remove them from office this summer after voters were left frustrated by a series of controversial bills and major budget cuts spearheaded by the opposition alliance. And on Saturday, the final 7 will all be put to a vote. The stakes are high after the first round of votes in July. All 24 KMT lawmakers survived that recall vote, a massive defeat for the recall campaigners. But the final 7 could still shift power dynamics in the legislature. The DPP holds a minority 51 seats in the 113-seat legislature, compared to the opposition KMT caucus plus Taiwan People's Party's 62 seats. But if at least 6 KMT lawmakers are removed and replaced with DPP lawmakers in a by-election, this would give the DPP a slight edge in the legislature, enough to overcome the opposition bloc. It's a major challenge made even more daunting by the fact that none of the 24 campaigns in July succeeded. But those wanting to see change in the legislature are not backing down, and they are rallying day and night to win over voters. Just days before the vote, pro-recall groups gathered at a night market in Nantou, central Taiwan, to call for support. And just across the street, Kuomintang lawmaker Huang, who they're trying to unseat, held a rally of his own. Flanked by Taoyuan Mayor Zhang Shanzheng and Taipei lawmaker Wong who survived a recall vote herself last month, Yo said he was confident that he would keep his position.
不管怎么样，风雨无阻的一样跟大家来进行恳托。那在这里的话，我们对我们整体的状况是有信心，因为全体的民众其实对于这个138亿的财划法可以用在地方的建设，大家是非常的期待。
2年前我来帮他扫街的时候，那个时候我觉得南投的乡亲，感觉是给尤浩这个年轻人一个机会，这次不一样，他已经有表现了。1年半了，对，1年半的时间，南投乡亲已经对他有肯定。这次大家的感觉不是再给他试试看，而是一定要让他继续当选，继续替我们服务。
Meanwhile, pro-recall groups were joined by members of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, which has since come out as a staunch supporter of the recall campaigns.
那这1年多以来，遇到726，遇到挫折，可是呢不气馁，还是继续完成大家该要走的这一条路。823，我们有很重要的这个任务，就是出来投票，出来投下这个同意罢免票。
The pro and anti-recall groups were met with mixed reactions.
对我们市民来讲是没有什么影响啦，可是赖总统这样，我们对比较偏向国民党。因为这样罢免我们就不同意啊，因为他做得好好的，干嘛要这样，对不对？
当然希望大成功，不过726蛮失望的。然后823我们，因为我们已经站出来半年多了，然后你说会成功吗？我们不知道，但是我知道，如果这一次我们不站出来，我们可能就没有机会再有选举这件事情。
Apathy was also a common response. Tired from a year of legislative fights, some voters in these key central counties just want the fighting to be over.
我没有在看这个的，我们是中立的，生意人就是随便都好，我没有在关注这个事情。
所以说罢免与不罢免对我们来说应该是没什么影响，只是说年轻一辈的可能比较有去投那个的欲望，就是我坚持支持谁，我就是想要得到他的立场结果啊。我们对我们老一辈来说是没什么影响的，也不太可能说坚持一定要支持谁。
我是想说，像他们立委那个有选到，就是要让他们把它做完，这样吧。哎呀，你这样还没做到什么就要把它罢免掉，这样好像有一点，哎呀，我也不会讲哈。
Whether voters remain apathetic or are moved by one camp, we'll know when voters turn out this Saturday, which will determine whether these opposition lawmakers have another chance to continue serving in the legislature. Scott Huang and Tiffany Wong in Nantou for TaiwanPlus. Taiwan's main opposition party is criticizing the government for not including pay raises for military personnel in next year's defense budget. The Kuomintang says this could hurt the military's efforts to recruit and retain personnel in the face of growing threats from China. However, it emphasizes it supports boosting the defense budget and purchasing more advanced weapons. It comes after the cabinet announced next year's defense budget would increase to $31 billion. It marks the first time since 2009 that Taiwan's military spending would exceed 3% of GDP. In Japan, an unfamiliar sight is turning heads. A Mazu temple built in the style of Taiwanese folk religion is offering a piece of home for some and a glimpse of Taiwanese tradition for others. Jeffrey Chen reports.
Listen to the chanting, close your eyes, and breathe in the incense. It's an experience familiar to many Taiwanese, but stands out in Japan. Set against the backdrop of urban Japan, this temple is unique, even if passerby don't grasp its significance.
I don't know anything about it at all. I don't know anything about this place. I just happened to be passing by.
So, what is this unknown edifice? Here in the heart of Yokohama, in East Asia's biggest Chinatown, stands a Mazu temple, a spiritual anchor for Chinese diaspora community in Greater Tokyo. Centuries-old traditions that's dedicated to the sea goddess are practiced and passed on, preserving cultural memories that are also shared across Taiwan. Da-san Jingyuan has been working at the temple since it opened in 2006. She's a Taiwanese living in Yokohama and hopes to bring more understanding of the Mazu folk religion to people here.
所以刚开始我们这里开庙的时候，不能说知名度，就是很少人知道妈祖娘娘到底是什么怎么样的一个存在。一直到现在还是会有人问，妈祖娘娘是什么？
The sea goddess Mazu has been worshipped for centuries around coastal communities in Taiwan and China, where she is believed to protect seafarers and travelers, making her particularly significant for Taiwanese living overseas.
我现在住这边住3年左右，对。
是因为工作的关系？
对对，在这边工作，对。
然后你会常常来这个庙，妈祖庙？
因为我住这附近而已，其实还算蛮常来的。对，一年大概来个2-3次有吧。
There are about 67,000 Taiwanese living in Japan, 1/3 of whom live in or near Tokyo. While the temple has close ties with Taiwan, in particular the Grand Mazu Temple in Tainan, it serves the entire ethnic Chinese community and welcomes all visitors.
对于华侨的重要性，它是一个精神寄托，也是一个文化的传承。那中华街每个人都有出力去建造这个妈祖庙，所以妈祖庙是中华街的共同财产，就是大家的怎么说呢？精神寄托也许说的比较夸张一点，可是人嘛有事没事倒霉的时候就会求神拜佛，那个时候是最好的一个怎么说呢？一个寄托吧。
The Yokohama Temple hopes to pass down traditions among generations of ethnic Chinese expatriates, while also opening a window for Japanese people to learn about a different spiritual world.
It is very beautiful. There are staff here who could help explain everything to us.
I think it's wonderful that there are places like this in Japan. I hope that places like this will not disappear.
Over the past 2 decades, the Yokohama Mazu Temple has become a place for both worshippers and the wider community. Its bright colors welcome the curious, and it will continue serving Yokohama, just as Mazu temples have served people in Taiwan and China for centuries. Ryan Wu, Bryn Thomas, and Jeffrey Chen in Yokohama, Japan for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this icebreaker ship in Finland. It's the first of its kind heading to Canada under a new trilateral partnership. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.